Hey, it's Ben. Welcome back to Mustache Moto for the final third part of our tire change series. This one is how to balance your tire. So you've broken the bead, taken the tire off, you've mounted the new one. Now you want to balance it so you don't have vibrations while you're riding. I use just a simple gravity stand, tire balancing stand. These are 50 or 60 bucks. I'll link it below. Because I got a BMW with a single-sided swing arm, I have an adapter because the center hole is really large on this. It's not a normal axle size. But normally you just use this rod. I'll show you. That goes through the tire. You mount it through and tighten it up. And then it sits on the wheel bearings or the bearings on the stand. Now, if you're using a regular geared bike, you want to leave that rear sprocket and the cush drive on while you do that. Of course, that's part of the wheel, that's part of the weight and the balance, so you want to be as accurate as you can. So leave that on when you put the rod through. So we're going to put the tire on here, and we're just going to let it spin. We're going to let it see where it comes to rest. Obviously, the heaviest spot is going to be at the bottom. It's almost always going to be where your valve stem is. Now, if you have a tire with the weighted dot on it that shows the light spot, and you mounted it on the valve stem, it could actually be perfectly balanced to start off with. I've never seen it happen though. So I kind of touched it just to slow it down so it didn't spin too far. If you give it a big spin, you're going to be here all day. So you can see it's kind of settling back and forth, moving very slowly. So the low spot is about here. All right, so what we're going to do, about here. There we go. Let's see if it settles there. All right. So we're going to go directly across from that low spot, which would be right here. And first thing we're going to do is clean that off. I find just some rubbing alcohol works fine. What you want to do is make sure it's clean so that your weights stick well. All right. It's clean and dry. And now what you're going to try and do is put enough weight that it balances properly. This takes some trial and error to kind of get a good idea of what you normally need on your bike, and then each time it could be a little bit different. So I use stick-on weights. I'm going to use a couple of large ones first because I know from experience with the TPMS it takes a little bit of weight to get that settled in, get it evened out. So let's put 2 on here. Then I'm going to put it at 90 degrees. So the valve stem's on one side and the weight's on the other, and I'm going to let it go. And we're going to see where it settles. If it holds in that position, you're in really good shape. So clearly it's still heavier at the valve stem side, but we're pretty close. Let's try it 90 degrees the other way. So clearly I must have given it a little bit of a push. It's settling back. So it's still bringing this side down, and this is coming up, so we don't have enough weight on there yet. All right, I'm going to add a couple more smaller weights. Push them on good. Let's go to 90 degrees. And it's just barely coming down. That might have been too much. Okay, let's go from the other side. So the weights are coming down, so we have too much on there. Let me take one of those off. Let's try that. All right, it's not moving. There we have it. Wheel is balanced. Now, one thing I'll say is if you're, when you do your own tire, do your own mounting, don't take the weights off before you put it on the balancer for the first time. Leave the weights that you had previously on and give it a shot, because sometimes the tire will line up just right. You know, if it's the same type of tire especially, and if it's got the dot on it, you might be in luck and not have to change any of those weights out. And if you do, if it doesn't seem to be right, take them all off and start from scratch again. So we're good to go. I'm ready to mount this sucker. Thanks for joining me.